people have got very excited about Claude Code. If you spend time on Twitter or Reddit, and it's starting to seep out onto other social media as well, Claude Code has suddenly become the thing. Suddenly, a lot of people are discussing Claude Code. Claude Code has been fantastic for the last year since it came out. It has been a very good coding agent. All of a sudden, people are like, oh, Claude Code's very good. People are finding other uses outside of programming, realizing, oh, wow, this is maybe the closest we have to artificial general intelligence. Now, I love Claude Code, and I use it every day. I have multiple agents running. I have one running right now. However, I know for a lot of people, especially if you've just been using ChatGPT, working with Claude Code is very intimidating. So I wanted to spend a bit of time today talking about what Claude Code is, whether you should invest some time learning about it, even if you aren't a coder, and the answer is yes, spoiler. I'm going to show you how you can use it, get it installed, access it, etc., and point you in the direction of a few different guides that can help you learn with AI. It's about using it and upskilling by playing around. Don't just read, get your hands dirty. Before that, I'm giving a live webinar, so Tuesday and on Thursday. It's going to be 6 p.m. UK time. I've got it up on the screen right now. No, I don't. I've got it up on the screen right now. It's going to be a webinar about giving workshops to businesses. So it's my belief that in 2026, we are moving out of a period where companies are experimenting with AI and messing around with it. And now they need to see some return on investment. They need to see their AI efforts actually leading to something. So I think it's going to be a huge year for artificial intelligence training. Companies have been giving staff access to AI, saying, work out what you can do with it. Now they've realized, we need to take this seriously. So I think 2026 is going to be massive. McKinsey did a study and found 95% of companies said that they need AI training, and only 1% of staff members had said they'd been given sufficient training. That's a big gap. That is a huge gap. So I'm going to be talking about how you can start giving AI workshops, how you can start to talk to your particular industry, super important, and helping them get on board with artificial intelligence. So I'm giving a webinar tomorrow, Tuesday, 6 p.m. UK time, totally free, and on Thursday, 6 p.m. UK time as well. I've also been busy over the new year, put together a masterclass which walks you through this as well. So they both work together. The webinar is going to be, you can ask questions, it's going to be live, I'm going to be talking you through it. But there's also a masterclass that I put together on my website that you can do, which has a video guide talking about how to start giving workshops. And then it has a written guide and 3 interactive tools. This is available on my website. If you follow the link in my bio on social media, you might be listening and thinking, I don't know enough about AI, I'm not technical enough. We don't need more technical trainers. What we need are people like yourself, people who have a grounding, a background in your industry. We need people who can communicate why AI is important and why they need to pay attention. I did some work with a charity and I went in and I gave them some AI training, but I noticed at the beginning they were very kind of hesitant. They're like, oh God, we don't want to be here. And I picked up on that energy and I was like, oh, what is it about AI that scares you, that makes you feel intimidated? And they're like, we had this guy come in, we'd got some money from KPMG, and with that money came some AI training, and KPMG sent in this guy and he had 2 PhDs. He had written a textbook on machine learning, really smart guy. But he talked to the board about neural networks, backpropagation and gradient descent and the how of how artificial intelligence works. And he left them feeling more confused about AI. I said, can you use WhatsApp? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, you can use ChatGPT. And then got them all onto ChatGPT and got them starting to use it. A lot of companies are still at that stage where they are not using AI or they're using it in a very naive way, and we just need to help them out. So what you need to do is draw on your background, your domain experience in your particular industry, and go and help people with the particular use cases, the workflows, using the language of the industry, help them with artificial intelligence. I'll be talking about that more in the webinar. Tomorrow, there's a couple of guides on the website. Use the link in my bio to get access to those. I think we've got a couple of hundred people coming to the webinar tomorrow, so it should be fun. Right, I'm gonna hop in and talk about Claude Code as promised. Let me quickly look at the comments. Claude 4, Claude Code, Claude 4.5 Opus specifically. Both Jesse and Bran are way ahead of me. Bran mentioned a senior agent at Google said they'd been working on a project for the last quarter, plugged it into Claude and solved the issues in less than an hour. Let me find her. Here she is. Jana, I think it's Yana Dogan. She says, and this is not shit posting, she says, "I am not joking and this isn't funny." And she means this. "We have been trying to build distributed agent orchestrators at Google since last year." She gave Claude Code a description of the problem and it generated what we built last year in an hour. This is important. This is a Google engineer. This is not an Anthropic engineer. Anthropic are the company who made Claude Code. Boris Journey made this thing called Claude Code, which we're going to be talking about and why you should be paying attention. This principal engineer at Google, their competitor, used Claude Code to work out something that Google had been working on for a year. It built it in 1 hour. So you'll be seeing a lot of stories like this popping up all of a sudden, and there's a reason for this. And Jesse has hit the nail on the head. It's something called Claude 4.5. Opus is their new model from Anthropic, and it is good, really good, like step change. Andrej Karpathy, one of the co-creators of ChatGPT, he created ChatGPT. He had a crisis of confidence the other day. Let me find his tweet because it's fascinating to see. I covered it in the newsletter before, but it's worth looking at again. Andrej Karpathy, super smart guy. Because of Claude Code, let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Because of Claude Code and Opus 4.5, he put out a tweet a few weeks ago saying, "I've never felt this much behind as a programmer. The profession is being dramatically refactored. A lot of the elements of coding, a lot of the elements of software development are being replaced by Claude Code. I have a sense that I could be 10% more powerful if I just properly string together what has become available over the last year." This is something we call the capability overhang. Basically, the AIs are getting better and better and better every month. We humans, we're much slower in how we adopt these new technologies. We're still catching up with what happened a couple of years ago. This is Andrej Karpathy. This is a very smart guy at the lead of this field. So if you lack confidence about your abilities with AI, don't worry, it's not just you. It's people right at the cutting edge. People in businesses and other industries not watching my live stream or even further behind. This makes me excited because everybody's in the same ship thinking, what do we do? Andrej says, "Some powerful alien tool was handed around with no manual and everyone has to figure out how to hold it and operate it, while the resulting magnitude 9 earthquake is rocking the profession. Roll up your sleeves to not fall behind." It has 16 million views. A few days ago, Yana, the principal engineer at Google, said, "Claude Code just did what has taken our teams at Google 1 year. It did it in 1 hour." Coding has basically become a solved problem. There are more elements in software development. There is engineering, there's the architecture, there's a lot more to it. But the code part itself, putting together each line of code, is close to being solved, which is exciting and terrifying. I want to look at Claude Code and get you started using it. If you are somebody who programs, if you're someone who codes, it's quite easy and you'll know how to do this already. So this isn't really for you. This is going to be for people who have been hearing about Claude Code and wondering, what the hell is that? And then they've gone to the Claude Code website. It says built for engineers, built for programmers. And then this is the first thing. You need to copy this curl-fssl https claude.ai/install.sh pipe bash. And you're meant to copy that and you're meant to put that somewhere. If you have never programmed it, that's a stumbling block. You will get to this page and be like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't blame you if you just bounce off that and you do not ever experiment with Claude Code. I want to help you over that hurdle because Anthropic have a messaging problem making it too complex to access it. We can use Claude Code not just for programming, not just for coding, but for all projects. That's why this is very exciting. I want to quickly look at this dude. Here we go, Pietro. He says, Claude Code isn't just for coding. I fed it my raw DNA data from an ancestry test. So they give you a CSV file that has all your DNA in it and used it to find health-related genes I could keep an eye on. The file is massive, but the ability to search what matters makes it possible. If you gave this file to ChatGPT, for example, it wouldn't be able to do this. Claude Code would work out ways to chunk it up, analyze piece by piece, know what to look for, build scripts, find the information, etc. It will work all of that stuff out for you. So this isn't just for coding problems, this is for any problem you have. If you are writing a non-fiction book and you need help structuring that information, if you need it all in a project where it's creating folders and creating drafts and keeping notes, etc., you can do that with Claude Code. If you're doing research, you can use Claude Code for that as well. Claude Code can be used for more types of projects than just coding. It will use code and build you little programs, but you don't necessarily need to think about it. So it is widely more applicable for more people. And the skill of using it is not just coding, it is being able to manage. So this is why it's really exciting, and you do need to get a grip of what's going on here, because this is the most exciting thing in AI right now. There's a guy called Ethan Mollick, he's over at Wharton University, and he's an AI educator, and he says, when you see how people use Claude Code, it becomes clear that managing agents is a management problem. Can you specify goals? Can you provide context? Can you divide up tasks? Can you give feedback? These are teachable skills. It's not about programming knowledge. It's not about knowing Python. It's not about understanding C++. Increasingly, it's about managing leadership. It's about being able to thinking systems and set tasks for these agents, these AI agents like Claude Code. That's exciting if you are not technical. So let's jump in and have a look about how you can actually access it. There are three main ways to use Claude Code. One is inside the terminal. The terminal looks like this. So if you ever use DOS, DOS is probably the best example. If you're a bit older like me, you might have used DOS, you might have had to use C:\/ to turn on games and stuff. If you can use the command line, you'll be fine. You can just grab this piece of code here, shove it into your terminal, press enter, and it will install, done. However, I'm going to assume most people look at this kind of thing and they're like, ooh, what the hell's that? I'm not using that. Absolutely fine. The second way is via an IDE, a development environment. I use something called Cursor. So Cursor is not free. Cursor is 20 a month. I think I pay 60 a month, I forget. But that gives you a whole piece of software which you install on your computer, which will help you with the file structures, help you with connecting to GitHub, I'll talk about that in a moment, and give you basically an interface where you can see your code, you can see everything, you can drag things in, you can drag in images, make folders, etc. It gives you a visual interface. That is slightly more user-friendly than doing it in the terminal, because the terminal doesn't really give you that development interface, a development environment. Instead, it's just text. It's just you and text, which is pretty intimidating. So that's the second way you can do it. You can use Cursor. I use Cursor personally, or Visual Studio. So Visual Studio is free. It is open source, so you can download it on your computer. And then you're going to install the Claude Code plugin inside Visual Studio. On the Claude Code main install page, there's a little drop down and it has a VS Code plugin. It looks like this. Basically, you install VS Code on your computer, like you'd install any piece of software. Then you come to this page to put Claude Code into VS Code. Slightly more complex, but definitely doable. What I want to show you though is Claude Code on the web. You can access it through your browser in Chrome. I'll show you what this looks like. So if you come into your Chrome account, not your Chrome, Claude account, on the left-hand side, there'll be a code button. This is only available on the paid plans. It's not available on the free plan as far as I know. That might have changed. But this code button here will basically open up a web interface for Claude Code. Fair warning, this is not as good as using it in the terminal. It's not as good as using it inside of VS Code or inside of Cursor. I couldn't say exactly why it's not as good. I think it's a harness problem. It is not as good. You will not get as good results. However, it gives you a search and chat interface. If you are used to using ChatGPT, you can do it inside of Claude Code. Before you can do anything inside Claude Code, it's going to ask you to connect to your GitHub account. If you've never coded, you're sitting there, what the hell is a GitHub? I don't have a GitHub account. Do I need to pay for that? What is that? Hub is like cloud storage for your project. Your project is going to live inside of this cloud, which we call GitHub, and changes are going to be pushed back and forward or pushed to GitHub and pulled from GitHub into wherever you are developing. But that's what we use it for, version control. So GitHub is powerful if you have multiple people, multiple engineers, multiple people in your business working on a piece of software or working on a project. You need version control so you don't push different versions of what it is you're building to the same repository, which will cause problems. So GitHub allows you to deal with that problem. You don't need to worry about that too much right now. All you need to use Claude Code in the web is a GitHub account. That is free. So you come over to github.com, you sign up, you can sign in with Google, you can sign in with whatever, and then click new. I'll do one right now. Test Claude Code. There we go. I'm just going to make a repository. Done. We're going to ignore all of this. We're going to come back to Claude Code Web, and I should now be able to choose it. Once we've connected, there we go, test Claude Code. I'm now in my new project that lives inside of GitHub, but I work with it inside Claude Code Web. I'm going to show you what Claude Code can do. I'm going to start a project and put it into that test repository. I'm looking around me and there's some oranges out there. If somebody can help me think of a test project, I'll do one. Let's look at what Peter Yang says. Here we go. Peter Yang suggests a couple of starter projects. I'll put this in the newsletter tomorrow so you can explore. Building a movie discovery app in 15 minutes, building a YouTube research agent in 15 minutes, building a family activity finder in 35 minutes. That's cool. These are example projects. What I might do is quickly build an application. I was looking for one yesterday that allows for the tech community of Cyprus to post their events and share details. There does not seem to be one, so I could build one quickly. I'm going to talk to Claude Code as I would to my normal ChatGPT. I'm going to put this guide here, the Y Combinator Guide to Vibe Coding, in the newsletter so you can read it. They start with create a comprehensive plan, review, refine, scope control, implement it incrementally, etc., etc. If you are doing this properly, you would plan and prepare. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to jump in so we can see what it can do. I will say, I don't need that. Let's say I want to create a web app that lives on a web page for Cypriot tech community members to allow for events, meetups to be organized. We want user accounts, organizer profiles, events, and let's say we want to make some money from this, and sponsorship paid opportunities. What I'll do, because I'm not doing the plan fully, I'll say, let's plan this first. I'll chuck this in. I'm using this very casually. Generally, I would create my plan elsewhere in Claude and then bring it into Claude Code, but I'm going to go ahead and use it in Claude Code. Now, what's happening here, and this is why it's very different to ChatGPT. ChatGPT or Claude, normally you just have your chat interface and you're going to work in the chat interface and you go back and forward. It's not going to be, normal ChatGPT or normal Claude is not creating files for you. It's not creating a project and writing code and connecting everything together and putting it in file folder structures. That's what Claude Code is doing for me right now. In the background, it's going to start creating files. This means we can build software. And this is why it's super powerful. You don't have to use it just for building software. You can use it for anything you want. It will use code to solve the problems you provide it. While it's doing that, I'm going to hop over to the questions. Do you think professional writing and professional prompt writers will be paramount over developers? No, I think developers will just be learning more how to prompt. So increasingly, they will be doing their development work inside these tools. Developers, as I mentioned, coding is close to being a solved problem, but coding is just one part of software development. There's also working out what it is you actually are going to build, the architecture, the structure, knowing what the different pieces, what modules you need to put together to create something that's successful. Then there's testing, making sure it works. Also building something people want. So the marketing element, actually building for a user rather than just jumping in and building for fun, which is fine as a toy project. If you are building professionally, you need to build for your customer. These are still very important skills and developers will be able to focus more on that. It involves multiple architectural decisions, tech stack authentication, payments, database design, enter plan mode to explore the options and design a solid approach. It is working out how to do it for me. Then it's going to respond with a plan and we go from there. Dodie says terminal training. Right now, doing Claude Code in the web version is the easiest because it looks like ChatGPT. If you've never delved into how computers work, this is the way to do it. If you are more familiar, go ahead and use VS Code and use Claude Code inside of your development environment. If you are even more comfortable, you can use it directly in your command line interface. So on Mac, that is something called Terminal. I can't bring it up on screen, but I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like this, which for a lot of people is terrifying. The idea of working with AI like this is intimidating. It is the most powerful way to work with Claude Code, but it's also inaccessible for a lot of people, which is why I kind of want to show a couple of options, different ways to do it. Let's have a look what Claude Code is doing. So notice it's taken a while, and it will. So I will often set Claude Code a task before bed and say, hey, I'm going to bed. This is a big problem I want you to work on. I want you to work on it, test it, make sure it's working. And then when I wake up, I'll review your results. And it will work on a task for 40 minutes, an hour. That's cool. I know it feels like it's taken a long time, but that's because it's way through and ensuring that it's actually done the job properly. So sometimes that takes a long time, but I'm okay with that because the quality is so high. Claude wasn't great for me. It's just too slow. Codex from ChatGPT is interesting because Codex is slower. So I'm okay with Claude Code being slow as long as the results are good. One thing inside of the web version that you're seeing right now, you can't actually see what it's working on. Whereas if you're doing it inside of Cursor, you can see the steps. But right now it's just saying spinning, discombobulating, inferring. It is going through a thought process, but I can't actually see what it's doing, which is a bit annoying. You'll see a lot of people online talking about, so what do you do while Claude Code is working for you? Do you play a game on your phone, read a book? I saw one guy who does 10 press-ups every time he's waiting for Claude. He's going to be jacked because I spend all my time waiting for Claude. Vim and NeoVim for me. Vims look great. DeepLearning.ai has great courses. Yes, thank you. That's Toro. Deep Learning AI is fantastic. And they've moved off Coursera or Udemy. They've moved off that now and they've made everything available on their website, which is great. If you are looking for a really basic one, there is it for everyone? Nope. Yes, these two, Generative AI for Everyone and AI for Everyone, are good basic ones. Generative AI is the modern AI, like ChatGPT. AI is a wider subject since the 1950s, although the idea has been around longer. This is a really good introductory session, Generative AI for Everyone, and it's free. You can install Claude, Terminal, and SSH and connect your MCPs all in one place to Docker Desktop. Yes, you can do a lot of cool things. I'm trying to avoid all that on this live because it's a really powerful tool that a lot of people are scared of because they hear MCP, they hear SSH, command line interface. So I wanted to show it in the web version at least. The guy called Boris, where is Boris? Here he is. So Boris actually built Claude Code. He works at Anthropic. He's just Claude Code Anthropic. So he posted, I'm Boris, I created Claude Code. Great first sentence. Lots of people have asked how I use Claude Code, so I wanted to show off my setup. My setup might be surprisingly vanilla, so basic. Claude Code works great out of the box, so I personally don't customize it that much. You can do a huge amount of customization in Claude Code. You can connect it to servers, you can connect it to different tools, you can put it inside a container in Docker, etc. What Boris is saying is, I don't really do any of that. And this is the guy who built Claude Code. He says, it works pretty great out of the box. I don't customize it much. There is no one correct way to use Claude Code. We intentionally built it in a way that you can use it, customize it, and hack it however you like. Each person on the Claude Code team uses it differently, and he runs through how he does it. He has 5 Claudes in parallel in his terminal. So he runs it in terminal, and he'll have 5 different agents going off and doing their own thing at the same time. You can have many of them. People have pointed out that it's great for Boris because he has unlimited usage of Claude Code. If other people, if us mere mortals were to do this, it might cost a lot of money. So he starts with 5 Claudes in parallel in his terminal. He also runs 5 to 10 Claudes on the web version in parallel with my local Claudes. As I code in my terminal, I will often hand off local sessions to web or manually kick off sessions in Chrome. So he's going back and forward. So he has 10 to 15 different Claude codes all working for him at the same time. He uses Opus 4.5, the model inside of Claude Code. You can use Sonnet 4.5 or Opus 4.5. Opus is the more powerful one, and it's the one that everyone's got more excited about recently. It is also more expensive. It's the best coding model I've used yet. And even though it's bigger and slower than Sonnet, since you have to steer it less and it's better at tool use, it's almost always faster. We are now waiting for Claude Code to work through the task. It's taken a long time. It's been 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe. It's taken a long time. We could use a different model. We could use Sonnet, for example, and it would get it done faster, but the end result might not be as good. Boris uses the highest end model. It takes a longer time, but you're going to get a better result and you're going to have to work with it less. There's less back and forth afterwards. So it's up to you how much control you want over the process. I will put this into the newsletter because it's a really interesting insight into the father of Claude Code, how he personally uses Claude Code. What is also interesting is that they develop Claude Code using Claude Code, getting close to the idea of a self-improving artificial intelligence. Obviously, Boris is still there, starting up the sessions. Does he need to be? Not necessarily. I will include that discussion in the newsletter because it's a good one. James says, versioning is important in AI coding to save commit changes and revert when you break it. Yeah. So earlier on, for the people who are not familiar with this technology, I showed you GitHub. So GitHub will allow you to basically create versions. It's going to track all of the changes and you can use that to roll back. There are revert tools inside of Cursor, inside of VS Code. You can probably revert in the web version. Actually, maybe not. But if you use GitHub and you are regularly committing your changes, saving your changes, basically, that allows you to roll back more easily. So it's good practice. Tyre Kyler just signed up. Thank you. Do you use agents, sub-agents, MCPs and skills? Yes, MCPs, not as much. I've used them for very specific things, like the Google AdWords MCP. When I want to connect into their data, I'll 100% use that. But I don't generally use them. I use skills more than MCPs. I just find them a bit more lightweight. So for anyone who has no idea, an MCP basically allows me to connect Claude Code to other tools. I was building a software to pull data from Google AdWords. I could manually import that data in a CSV file. I could create a piece of software that goes to the website and kind of looks around and it pulls information off. But Google AdWords or Google have created something called an MCP, which allows my software, my tool to connect directly. So it sets up a connection so they can talk back and forward. So MCPs allow you to do that in a structured way when building web. Skills are a folder full of instructions used multiple times. So you can, I think the best way to think about it is if you had a team of staff members, human staff members that worked for you, when you onboard a new member of staff, you probably give them some documentation saying, hey, this is what the task is, this is how you do it step by step, this is what a good output looks like, this is what a bad output looks like, and basically giving them the structure. A skill is a bit like that, where you dump all of that information into one file, into one folder, and when Claude Code does whatever that task is, it's going to go and check those skill documentations and then apply those skills during the task. It allows us to get better results from Claude Code for certain tasks. I think that's an okay description. Digital Owl says, is this better than Antigravity? So Antigravity is an IDE from Google. The best thing about Antigravity is it's free. Let me check. Individual plan, $0 per month. We like that. This is because Antigravity is new. So Antigravity is a competitor to Cursor, made by Google. I'm sure it'll be paid later. They'll give you free access to Gemini 3, Claude Sonnet Opus, and GPT OSS, which is ChatGPT's open source model. You get free access. If you wanted that with Cursor, you're going to be paying $20 a month. So Antigravity right now are trying to pull away users from Cursor who can't afford that $20 per month, which is fair. I assume at some point they're going to start charging. I think Gravity's fine. Personally, Antigravity, I think it's fine. Personally, I didn't find it exciting enough to move from Cursor to Antigravity, but I'm fine paying $20 a month for Cursor. But that said, Cursor's been around for a year, 2 years, whereas Antigravity's brand new. It came out last month, so we'll see what they do. Paint Mixing says, Google AI Studio is fast and very good. Google's in a weird place where they have too many vibe coding tools. They have Jules, they have Opal. I'm not sure if Opal's been released widely. They have Google AI Studio, which has a build mode, which is basically vibe coding. They have Antigravity. So they're doing a very Google thing, which is throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, basically. They're all decent. They haven't become my day-to-day because I mainly use Claude Code and Cursor personally. They're still very good. This demonstration of Claude Code in the web has not gone very well because it has spent 30 minutes doing absolutely nothing. I will say I don't use the web version for this reason. It has got stuck on me before, and I do not know if this is stuck or if it is still working on something, which is a user interface problem that they need to fix. I have no idea if this has crashed or if it's genuinely taken this long to do the task, which is a shame because this Claude Code Web is the entry point for non-technical people. This is why I don't use it. I use it in Cursor or I use it in the command line interface. However, this is the easiest way to get access. So that's still applicable, but hopefully you don't run into problems like we have here because this is not working at all. What I'll probably do is a proper screen share where I'll show you how it works inside of Cursor, and then we can move much faster. This is not a very impressive demonstration, sadly. Perfect, exactly what we need, more scammy AI classes. What's fascinating this year, or at the end of last year, 2025, is we moved from people thinking that AI wasn't very good. For the last couple of years, and with good reason, a lot of people could look at AI and they could be like, this sucks, we're safe. I don't need to worry about my job as a programmer because the code sucks. I don't need to worry about my job as an artist or graphic designer because the images AI creates sucks. I don't need to worry about my job as a musician because this stuff sucks. For the first couple of years, this was 100% true. And we have things like Will Smith eating spaghetti from a couple of years ago, which was horrifying. We had weird DALL-E. So DALL-E 2 was the image generation model and it created these twisted face monstrosities. We had coding agents that created spaghetti code, absolute nonsense. So for a couple of years, it was possible to deny that AI was going to be a problem because the argument was it's crap. A lot of the outputs were crap. What is happening though is increasingly, and you're seeing this in different industries, different areas, different domains of expertise at different times, people are realizing that, oh, it's actually really good. This AI is very good at making images. It is very good at making videos. It's very good at writing code. This is happening at different rates in different areas, and we call this a jagged frontier inside artificial intelligence. It doesn't develop at the same rate in all places. What happened at the end of 2025 with the release of Opus 4.5 from Claude and Claude Code is the programmers finally realized like, oh, here it is. This is now a real risk to what I do. People are realizing this at different rates in different industries. This means that we've seen the arguments against AI shift. So there used to be, oh, it's rubbish, it will never be able to do this. That was a very easy argument to make. That argument has now shifted because people have realized, oh, no, it's very good. So I need to think of other arguments. So now the arguments are, it's destroying the environment, it's making people lazy, it's going to take jobs, there's electricity, water, deep fakes, we can't believe what we see anymore. The argument is very rarely now, it's not good enough. It's not good enough is an argument that has collapsed as the AIs got better and they are continuing to get better. 2026 is going to be more interesting in terms of the argumentation because we can't just deny it. We can't just deny its existence or deny it's any good because it really is. People are going to have to come up with better arguments against it. Claude is acting like a human, he works like a robot. I really like Claude. Claude has been my go-to model for the last couple of years for most of my work. Rennie says, I'm so behind in tech, I can never keep up. Andrej Karpathy, a tweet from him, he is the guy who, or one of the co-creators of ChatGPT. On the 26th of December, so just after Christmas, Andrej Karpathy put out a tweet basically saying, oh my God, I feel so behind. So this, again, is one of the co-creators of ChatGPT. He's at the forefront of his game. He feels behind. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling behind in this technology, you're not alone. Even the creator of this technology is, ooh, what's going on? If he's having a crisis of confidence, it's okay for us normal people to feel overwhelmed. It's a fast-moving technology. Next week, I'm giving some workshops about this, or I'm giving webinars about how you can actually take your AI skill and your domain knowledge of whatever industry you work in, and you can go and teach businesses, and businesses pay very well. My average is $2,000 per hour, £1,500 per hour for giving a workshop. The most I've charged is $4,000 for 1 hour. Businesses right now are panicking because they feel behind, and if they don't catch up, they're going to be taken out by competitors who are using AI or new entrants. So right now there's a huge opportunity. It sounds cynical, but to take advantage of the fact that everyone is feeling overwhelmed. If you can work it out for your industry, become the known person in your industry, whether you're talking to teachers, whether you are talking to social workers, to government employees, whatever it is, if you can become the person who goes and educates and helps companies, help organizations, that's a really good position to be in. Next Tuesday and Thursday, I'm giving live webinars about this. There's a link in my bio. There's also a free masterclass on my website. Follow the link in my bio, access a video overview of how you can start to teach artificial intelligence. Even if you are not a technical expert, you don't need to have a PhD. In fact, it gets in the way of being able to communicate why this is important. And there's also a written guide and a couple of interactive tools to help you. There's one, for example, that helps you structure your first workshop, your first 60-minute workshop. Another one that helps you work out what your niche should be and how much you can get paid. So that's all available via the link. Don't worry, you are not the only one feeling behind. It's okay. Master CFC, what is the best path for someone with no AI or code experience to get into AI? Honestly, just start playing around. There are courses, ways to learn. I personally have lots of courses on my website. If you go to aiwithkyle.com, there's a huge amount of stuff here. Too much, about 100 different playbooks. Honestly though, just start experimenting and using it in your daily life and working out what it can be used for and what it's not useful for. That's a skill that just comes from practice. The first thing you do is replace Google with it. Instead of thinking, I looked this up on Google, see if you can do that with AI. You're not always going to get the same result. It won't always be as good, but that's a decent first start. But then you can do a lot more with artificial intelligence. With Google, we ask questions and get answers. That's fine, and we can use AI to get answers. What AI is really good for, though, is learning how to ask better questions and challenging ourselves. If you go to AI with Kyle, where is it? And then on the front page, there's Get AI Ready in 5 days. This is a free course which basically walks you through how you can start to get a foundation in using AI. It starts really basic, like how to download ChatGPT. So super basic. And then it goes on from there. And hopefully is a useful starting point. China's worried over their investments. They turn to the Confucius Institute for advice. The Confucius Institute is a language learning institute and culture. There are so many tools right now and it's getting crazier. Yeah, if you go on something like there's an AI for that. Let's have a look at this website. It has 44,000 AI tools for 11,000 tasks and 5,000 jobs. Most things you can do with AI, you can do with ChatGPT or Claude. Sometimes you'll need something that's a bit special. If you want to make slides, for example, there's something called Gamma's very good, much better than ChatGPT or Claude. But most of the time, 80% of the tasks you can do with ChatGPT or Claude. The only other kind of big one I'd talk about is NotebookLM. I love NotebookLM, which is really good if you're trying to learn something. Very cool tool. I maybe use, what do I use? I use ChatGPT, I use Claude Code, I use Cursor, I use NotebookLM. That's kind of it. I play around with everything else. I try things out, I experiment with it, but 80–90% of my work is with those 5 tools. There's a huge amount of overwhelm. If you try every single new tool, you will get snowed under, but most of the time you don't need to. And so go for an 80-20 here. Use the really good tools like Claude Code and don't worry too much about all of the other new stuff, because otherwise you will get snowed under. I've made an app in Lovable. I need to figure out how to make it a mobile app. Lovable's great. I visited them in Stockholm. It's not the best tool to make mobile apps. You'll need to use Capacitor. You can use this. Capacitor will allow you to basically convert your Lovable app into a mobile app. The reason I say it's not really the best tool is Lovable primarily builds web apps, things that work on a website, so inside of Chrome, which is a very specific use case. It tends to use something called Vite to make those applications. Again, it works for a huge amount of things and it's really useful. It's just not necessarily the best choice for making an app which is going to live on a telephone, because on the phone, you're going to need it in a different language at some point. So Capacitor will basically, let me pull it up again. I don't know why I got rid of that. Capacitor will create a new version of your application and it will convert it from Lovable into a phone app, which will work on Apple devices, so iOS, which is generally in Swift, Android devices, and a progressive web app, a web app converted into a mobile app, sort of. So definitely have a look at this. So drop Karpathy into any existing web app. So you would talk to Lovable and say, hey, I want to turn this into a mobile app. I want to use Karpathy. Just tell Lovable that, and it will help you get started. This is a problem a lot of these tech companies have. If you have no idea how to code, just talk to Lovable and say, hey, this is what I want to do. How do I do this? And say, I've heard Karpathy is useful. Can I use it? What do you think about Bolt.new? I test them all. Bolt.new is a vibe coding app. There's Lovable, Bolt.new, Replit, Base44. There's probably some others I'm totally forgetting about. Bolt is probably lower down my list. I really like Lovable for fast prototyping. Lovable is probably my favorite. Bolt, I haven't tested it for a few months, but I'm never as impressed with it as I am with Lovable. So for me, it's not as good. Try these things out. If you have a web app or a phone app, try them out and see which one vibes best. That said, Claude Code, once you learn how to use Claude Code, it demolishes all of the vibe coding tools. It's just really good. There's more of a learning curve to get started using it. As we covered earlier on the live, Lovable is easy to use, it's fantastic. But once you learn to use Claude Code, it's so powerful that it's hard to go back to Lovable, Bolt, Replit, etc., because you lose that power. It's a shame majority of British people think AI is a scam. So right now, I'll show you where I am, for those who didn't see it. As you can see, I'm not in Britain right now. I'm somewhere sunny, and there are oranges hanging from the trees. Britain as a whole, and I say this as a Londoner, a British person, we don't move very fast. We're not very progressive. When new technologies come along, instead of grabbing them with both hands, which is what's happening in America and it's happening in China, and thinking, what the hell, what can we do with this? This is really exciting. We tend towards fear and conservatism. In entrepreneurship, British people tend to be a bit more reserved. They don't like change. They don't particularly like risk. So something like artificial intelligence coming along and potentially disrupting everything, that rubs against the British temperament of risk aversion. That said, we have people like Demis Hassabis, who heads up DeepMind. He's British Cypriot, I think, or half Cypriot. Funnily enough, that's a coincidence, who are running amazing labs. But again, DeepMind now belongs to Google, because Google, the Americans 10 years ago, were like, you guys are doing great stuff. We're going to give you the funding. We're going to give you the resources needed to get this done. So America and China are running ahead with this. It's a two-horse race. Britain is basically out of the game. The British public are skeptical. They don't like change. They're too busy moaning about other things, blaming things on other people who are not themselves, to actually grasp this opportunity and make something of the technology for their lives, their community, their family. It's just not a British way. For those of you racing the technology, congratulations, you are fighting our natural conditioning. Applaud you. The site that shows all those AI tools for something, yeah, sorry, I got rid of it quite quickly. It's called There's an AI for That. Literally, there's an AI for that.com, or Taft, TAAFT.com. It's a bit overwhelming because many of these projects have died. You'll go through these, you go through the use cases or the tasks. So creativity, productivity. Let's look at health, for example. There's 933 health ones. There are 16 sleep ones. Let's have a look at that. So these are sleep analyzers. And you can see how many people have viewed it, how many people have it, reviews, etc., etc. If you look around and you go to their websites, let's look at BedPage. These are just custom GPTs. If you look at some of them, a lot of them will be dead projects, because what's happening right now is it's really easy to build stuff. So we can use Lovable, we can use Claude Code, we can use whatever. We can build software really quickly, so we can make a product extremely quickly. What's not happening though, people are not working out the marketing. They're not working out if they're building something that people actually want to use. Websites like There's an AI for That become a graveyard for well-intentioned projects that never find a market because they haven't thought about the business process. The enthusiasm and ease of building stuff now is fantastic and allows anybody to take an idea and create something. At the same time, people have not upped their game in marketing, so they run into a barrier quickly. The next step is, how do you work out marketing? How do you work out distribution? Again, I have a free course on that. It's called the Summer Camp, because I did it last summer. the 10-week AI summer camp, which is about working out your niche that you should focus on, working out what you're going to build, your business idea, vibe coding it, creating it. So that's half of it. And then it's all about marketing, selling, how to actually reach people, distribution, etc. Because those two go hand in hand. Being able to build is now so easy. Distribution really matters nowadays. That's on the website aiwithkyle.com. That's free, so you can just hop in and grab that. NotebookLM is amazing. Whenever I show it to people, they're like, wow, this is really cool. Not enough people know about it. So NotebookLM, check it out if you haven't already. Am I logged in? Let me see if one thing that it can now do is, I have to log in. It can now do presentations really well. It uses Nano Banana Pro to create presentations. This is a presentation I made using NotebookLM. We had a slow news day in artificial intelligence, and I was like, well, I'm not just going to come on and talk guff about nothing. So instead I was like, all right, I'm going to take one of my playbooks, an article that I've written, I'm going to quickly turn it into a presentation deck so that I can just talk about it. I gave it this article, maybe a couple of thousand words, and it created this presentation. So I could just come on the live and start giving this presentation. And this is generated in NotebookLM using Nano Banana Pro. As you can see, it's good. It's tasteful, which most AIs are not. This was created in 5 minutes by NotebookLM. So really cool. If you are learning something, you can use NotebookLM to give you summaries, to ask you questions, to guide your learning. Or if you're teaching, you can give it the information and it can create assets like this presentation. It can create quizzes, mind maps. If you have not used NotebookLM from Google, I highly recommend it. The NotebookLM animated slides are really good too. Yes, it can make explainer videos, can't it? It can also make a podcast where it creates a synthetic podcast with two hosts, a male and a female, who talk back and forward and they discuss the topic. We all learn in different ways. So for me, it's very visual. For other people, it's very audio based. NotebookLM gives us the option to have all of those. So flashcards, quizzes, presentations, you can ask it questions, really cool. Try it if you haven't, it's free because it's Google. What's your take on Grok? It's fine. My take is it's not as good as ChatGPT, it's not as good as Claude. However, Grok and XAI has been around for, I think it's less than 2 years. XAI was founded in March 2023. They're coming up on their 3rd birthday. Go from basically zero to having a frontier level model, which is not quite as good as Gemini, it's not quite as good as ChatGPT, not quite as good as Claude, but to be even within spitting distance within less than 3 years, that's incredibly impressive, incredibly impressive. No matter what you think about Elon Musk, I just got disconnected. No matter what you think about Twitter, what they've done is impressive. That said, I don't use it. I don't know anyone who does. The only people who claim to are people on Twitter who are always going on about how great a model it is, but I don't believe it. I don't think anyone's using it. I just got disconnected from TikTok for inactivity, but that's fine. It's nice to be back. Thank you for your patience with the technical issues. I'm doing a couple of live webinars. I'm doing one tomorrow on Tuesday. I'm also doing one on Thursday. They're going to be at 6 p.m. UK time. You can find the link in my bio. I'm going to be talking live about how you can become an AI educator, how you can talk to people in your particular industry with artificial intelligence. I charge about $2,000 per hour to go and give workshops. And I have students, other people who go and use my material who are charging $1,000, a couple of thousand per hour. It's very doable. I'm going to be talking about that on Tuesday and on Thursday. It's a free webinar, going to be live. You can ask me questions, etc. And you can find that using the link in my bio. I'm going to hop off and enjoy some sun, maybe have an orange from the tree. So if you're in the UK, I left a couple of days ago and I'm not regretting it. Thanks, talk soon.